Welcome to Living Vividly, the podcast where health, wellness, and curiosity collide. I'm Jackie, the founder of Vivid Health and Wellness, your guide on this journey to living your happiest and healthiest life.
My co-host Daphne, the unconventional dietitian, is always ready to shake things up and bring a fresh perspective to your wellness journey. And we can't forget Dustin, our producer, who keeps everything running smoothly behind the scenes. Together, we'll chat with health and wellness experts along with everyday people who have inspiring stories and practical insights to share. If you're ready to nourish your body, move better, and discover simple ways to thrive, you're in the right place. And hey, if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to leave us a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
Today we are joined by Brandie Courville, Dr. Brandie Courville, the owner of Belle Pilates and Physical Therapy, and we're so excited to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
We had the pleasure of going to a class on Saturday. It was
so
very
much fun.
enjoyable.
It was so fun.
It was intense. That was probably the most resistance heavy Pilates class I've ever taken.
Okay. You're welcome.
Really
You're
cool.
welcome. You got your money's worth.
Yeah. We got to stand up and do a bunch of arm and back stuff. And normally you're just on the reformer. So I felt like I got a 2-for-1 special.
Amazing. Good. Were you sore? Did you have any soreness afterwards?
I've been working out regularly for the last couple of weeks. So I feel like I'm at a good point. But I felt good.
Good.
Felt really awesome.
Good.
So how long have you been open?
So we have been open in this location for 3 years. It'll be 3 years in October. Wow. I've actually started my LLC 2 years prior to that. So a total of 5. The way that it came about was, well, first of all, I went to PT school, and then coming out of PT school, I knew that I wanted to open up my own freestanding practice. And the program that we went through at LSU Shreveport, we actually had an entire semester of women's health, and several of the doctors of physical therapy there and the professors there were also trained in Pilates. And so with my background being in triathlon and teaching different fitness, I've always been a fitness enthusiast, but it was really kind of a no-brainer for me. It was like, okay, this is the direction that I want my practice to go in. I can see the substantial amount of benefits that it offers patients, and quite frankly, the clinical data supports it in use of as a therapeutic modality. So whenever those worlds kind of came together, it was an aha moment. I mean, I just thought this can help so many people be able to not only, get better through physical therapy, because we know that physical therapy works, but then, the problem is, or the challenge is that after the 6 or 8 weeks of, their course of therapy that their insurance pays for, they tend to resort back to some of the, the old habits, not intentionally. I mean, everybody has great intentions, but it's very difficult to maintain, especially whenever you're talking about things of the spine, right? Lower back, postural alignment. Those are things that are very difficult to maintain from an individual. And Pilates really answers that question, and it really provides that solution for the how they can maintain it.
Can you describe, for someone who's never been to a Pilates class, we hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yoga and Pilates kind of are almost married together. How would you describe what type of fitness class a Pilates class is?
So Pilates focuses on alignment of the spine. Okay. So it also works what we call, from a physical therapy standpoint, Pilates focuses on local stabilizing muscles. Okay. So within the human body, you have you can break this down into 2 categories of muscles. Okay. So you have your big global muscles, which are typically what we think of working whenever we go into the gym, right? So we're doing squats, we're doing deadlifts, maybe chest presses, those kind of things. Those are global muscles. Local stabilizing muscles are the muscles that we typically can't see in the mirror, but they are so important because they do just that. They stabilize. So those are the deeper muscles. So what we call your TA, right? Your transverse abdominis, the layers underneath. The same thing with the shoulder. So your rotator cuff, you have a set of muscles muscles that are small stabilizing muscles that work to stabilize the shoulder girdle. And the same thing with the hip. So you have the deep internal muscles, the internal and the external rotators of the hip. Well, Pilates, kind of to circle back around to your question, addresses a lot of those local stabilizing muscles. What that does is a couple things. So number one, it just helps to have, overall two synergistic groups of muscles working together, the local stabilizing muscles as well as the global stabilizing muscles. So then they're synergistically working together to help you perform whatever it is. If you're an athlete, then it's going to help you, perform whatever your sport is better. But, for the majority of people, what it's going to do is it's going to mean injury prevention. So, a lot of people, they'll get into a workout program and then they typically may find themselves injured, especially for people that were previous athletes who have activated these global muscle patterns over years. So let's say runners, cyclists, CrossFit, which I love all of those things. But Pilates really answers the question how you can continue to do those sports at any age. And, by strengthening the core, spinal alignment, working on those local stabilizing muscles, that's how Pilates helps really give patients and clients a long-term wellness program.
So it sounds like combining the global muscles, global stabilizing muscles, and the local stabilizing muscles together can really give you a complete full body workout.
Yes. That's very correct. So, and you can kind of think about it working synergistically. So they're working together.
So you're not over strengthening one versus, I think if I were to guess, obviously this is not my world, but most people would over strengthen their global stabilizing muscles.
Correct.
Without the local muscles would perhaps even be getting weaker as you're making your global stabilizing muscles stronger.
That's absolutely correct. That is absolutely correct. And the majority of the time it's from, and we don't have to go into this too deep, but the majority of the time it's a neuromuscular relationship on why those local stabilizing muscles no longer fire. And you can kind of think about it like this, because if those big global muscles are the ones that are working all the time, then those local stabilizing muscles from a neuromuscular standpoint just say, you don't need me anymore.
Right.
I'm just going to, take a nap or whatever, and let all of the bigger muscles just kind of do the job. So to your point, yes, that's absolutely correct.
Okay.
And I'm envisioning like people getting injured, like people that do really heavy weights, they'll get injured and then they can't do these exercises anymore. I feel like Pilates is a really good, like it maybe would have prevented some of those injuries, but also a good starting point to start back up before you, like after an injury, you go through PT instead of going straight back to heavy lifting and pumping iron in the gym. Starting with Pilates kind of gives you that foundation of strength that your body needs to heal better.
Yes, that's a very good point, is that it gives you the strength, and it kind of, you can look at it two ways. So either prehab or, post injury. Okay. And, if you're doing Pilates beforehand, then it's just helping you perform even better. If you're doing it on the post side of an injury, then it's helping you recover, but it's also helping you establish those proper motor patterns so that you can go back into the sport that you love. Because, as physical therapists, that's what we always want for our patients and our clients. We always want them to be able to continue doing whatever sport it is that they love, whether it's CrossFit or running or cycling or triathlon. So we try to work within those parameters and try to get patients in a healthy way or keep them doing the things that they love to do for as long as they can.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing, especially for you in conversations that we've had, is not slowing down as we age.
Yes.
I think people get to a certain point, a certain age, and they're like, well, time's up. I guess I can just get old. And
ironically, the other day I was watching, this is going to sound like it has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I was watching Golden Girls.
Yes,
the
I
show.
love Golden Girls.
And so in the show, Betty White loses her job. And one of the other ones says to her, but Betty, you're only 55 and you've lost your husband and now you've lost your job, something along those lines. And in my mind, I was like, 55? The Golden Girls were 55? Wow. I thought they were like 75.
Yeah.
Because they don't look, I mean, I'm not far from 55 and I don't feel like I look like any of those ladies in there. So the longevity, the circle back around to the longevity part, I feel like over the past few decades, longevity, what we envision longevity to look like has definitely shifted a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I agree with you. And, that brings us to the point. So we, at Belle Physical Therapy and Pilates, in conjunction with you guys and Stroll Magazine, we have started a 6-part longevity series. And my goal and our goal at Belle is to be able to provide clients and patients with tools in their toolkit to really know how to age in a healthy way. I think it's so important that we start to really change the mindset of aging and know that longevity is a plan and it doesn't have to be at 55. Oh, I'm old, it's due to old age. And some of those, look, some of those things are true. That's a good point. I mean, we may not be able to do the things that we used to be able to do at, certainly 20, 30, maybe even 40, but it doesn't mean that we should stop. Okay. Stopping movement is probably, and having a sedentary lifestyle is one of the absolute worst things that we can do. Hands down.
Right.
It's terrible for our metabolic system, our cardiovascular system, our muscular system, our nervous system, everything. So what we are trying to do is really change the thought process and give people the how behind they can maintain a health span into later stages of life. And that's what we're doing with our 6-part longevity series.
And I feel like this day and age, so much of our lifestyle is sitting down. So whether it's sitting at a desk, which is what I do most days, sit at a desk, sitting in a car, traveling, if you're a mom that's carting kids from place to place, traveling a lot in a vehicle. So we spend so much time sitting down that even if you are in a sport, that can keep you moving. But as those things, as we shift through the lifestyle, those sports start to decline in frequency, and then we end up just kind of over time just not moving much at all. So doing something active has to be a very intentional decision that you make. So whether it's walking, Pilates, or getting into a sport that might be a little bit more fitted for, the lifestyle. So pickleball is the big thing now. It's the thing that everybody is doing because it does keep you moving. But it has to be a very intentional decision at this point.
You're absolutely right. You have to make it a part of your lifestyle. And what I always recommend to people is start small. Start with small goals and really build a scaffolding around that. We really have a crisis on our hands right now in our healthcare system in the United States. We spend the most money out of all, industrialized countries, and we have the worst health problems. I mean, we have, and I'm going to bring my notes out because I wanted to share this with you, but I wanted to make sure that I'm not misquoting some of this information. So this was from September 2012. There was an article and it was in the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA. Okay. So let's see, total knee replacements soared 161.5% among Medicare patients over the past 20 years. Chronic diseases or some of the most costly healthcare, but the most preventable problems that we're facing right now. It just, here's one more other fact, and I don't want to data dump, but I did want to support some of this podcast by having some evidence-based medicine. According to the CMS, so the Center for Medicare Services, U.S. healthcare spending costs rose by 7.5%, and this was in 2023. And it said that, $14,570 is what the average person is spending on healthcare. So overall, we have a healthcare problem on our hands. But the good news is it doesn't have to be this way. And so again, we wanted to really give people tools in their toolbox to feel empowered over their healthcare. It doesn't have to be, like we were talking about the Golden Girls, 55. Oh, that's it. I'm old. Let me just hang it up, because that's absolutely not true. I always recommend, if you're not sure where to start with small steps, start with, the guidelines right now for cardiovascular is 150 minutes per week.
It's not much.
It's not much.
But
and you can even
for that, in working with people, that doesn't sound like much, but that even it can be a struggle for someone to wrap their brain around.
Absolutely.
How do I fit this into my day?
Yes.
So I'll tell them, let's start with 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes in your day somewhere to walk around your house, walk around the block, do something. Start with such small steps, and then you can add on to that.
It's so true. And you can even break that down into 2 per day, so I'll tell them walk for 15 minutes in the morning, or walk, and then add a 15-minute walk in the afternoon, park a little bit further away, add all of those steps, add up, take the stairs, some of these really old-fashioned things. Now, look, I'm all about wearables and being able to track all of your metrics and your data. But let's be honest, a lot of people don't have access to those things, and that's okay. But there's something to be said about just good old-fashioned walking, gardening, taking the stairs, those things. I think that today, in today's society, because we are so fast-paced, that we tend to overlook just those staples of health and wellness.
And those little tiny micro decisions start compounding. Someone who's totally overwhelmed, overweight, I can't walk for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Just doing that, like parking at the end of the parking lot. And you achieve these tiny, tiny things, and something happens in your brain where you feel like you're capable of achieving just one more little thing. And eventually you're walking 30 minutes a day or 45 minutes a day. You just build yourself up. You can't go from 0 to all the way doing the goal, and I think that's where people get lost and overwhelmed, and they give up, because Daphne always says,
inch by inch, life's a cinch. Yard by yard, life is hard.
Oh, I love it.
You make these goals that are too big for yourself. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
That's why people just need to be okay with, I'm just doing one little thing,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody has to start somewhere. And I strongly believe that if you make a goal, no matter how small it is, I'm going to walk for 10 minutes, 5 days this week. If you make that goal that is very reasonable and doable, and you achieve that goal, then it just builds your confidence that, okay, well, maybe next week I can do 12 minutes. You can it builds your confidence in your ability to set a goal and accomplish that goal.
Absolutely. And it's so empowering also, and again, I really, I always try to encourage patients, don't even think about it in terms of, I need to lose 10 pounds. Don't even think about it. Think about it, reframe it, and say, this is 15 minutes. This is 30 minutes. I'm given to myself today. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to put on my favorite playlist. I'm going to put on a podcast. And this is my time, and personally, one of my, and this works very well for me. I know it's not going to work well for everybody, but I love a morning workout. I love an early morning workout.
Get it over with.
You get it done. It sets the tone for your entire day.
Yeah.
And another thing that I really love about it is because it's about so much more than that morning workout. And to your point, what you were saying is that you're building new connections in your brain, and you really truly are, because those early morning workouts start the day before. It starts with having the discipline to be able to go to bed early, to turn off your phones, to, wind down, get your clothes out, set your coffee in the morning, and whenever you start doing those things, you really do, you rewire the circuits in your brain that say, hey, I'm doing this to take care of me. I'm doing this because my health is important, and I have a lot of things me, I have a lot of things I want to do in this next chapter. And I know it all hinges back on the physical you know, having the physical strength, having the endurance to be able to do, you know, like I love hiking. I love outdoor activities. You know, the next thing I was telling people, I was like, you know what I think I want to do next? I think I want to get into rock climbing. And they're like, what? Where is this coming from? I don't know, but I think that might be something I want to do, you know, during the next chapter. Well, that's going to take a tremendous amount of strength, you know?
Well, and I want to circle back around to something that you said. There's so much emphasis right now in our society in the wellness world about weight loss. And, you know, so much with all of the GLP-1s, that has been, it's kind of created, I think, a disillusionment that wellness and health is about weight loss. But whenever we're talking about longevity, we're really talking about health span, meaning how long, not just how many years do you live, but how long can you have good health in that time frame?
Yes.
And so that while weight loss might be, it's a part of that equation, potentially for some people, it's really not the goal. So we can have good health and wellness, even if we are 10, 15, even 20 pounds more than what we think we're supposed to be. And so just to kind of separate the idea of weight loss and longevity are not the same thing at all.
It's so true. And if you are focusing on the numbers on a scale, you're playing the short game.
Right.
So, you know, longevity is about playing the long game. It's about being here so that you can watch your kids grow up, so that you can take those vacations, so that you can, you know, climb up, you know, if you want to go to the Swiss Alps and you want to go hiking with your family, if you want to go to the Grand Canyon and see those events. And that's what I always try to encourage people. And yes, some people do need, for health reasons,
Right.
there is a case for that. And I, you know, support that 100%. Overall, a much more long-term goal is to play the long game and think about, okay, you know, what am I doing right now today that is going to help me live my best life in the future? And I really hope that the takeaway is that for today, because why don't we do that? We think about that with our finances all the time. The main goal that so many people have is retirement. I've got to save for retirement. You know, I have to invest. And so we do that in other areas of our life, but, you know, unfortunately, we tend to neglect our health, but our health actually is one of the most important, because who cares? You could have, you know, millions of dollars in the bank, but, you know, you come down with a, you know, an ailment or
debilitating
disease
or a hip break.
Yes.
You know, then we know that that's just kind of the downhill spiral for lifespan.
And there's so many ways to lose weight that are completely unhealthy. And if we only focus on that, and let's just say I have 10 pounds to lose, but if I'm sleeping well, I am practicing gratitude, I am eating clean and doing all these other foundational things, the weight's going to kind of just take care of itself because of these sustainable things that I'm doing. If you do it the quick way, you're much easier to gain it back. But if you're laying these foundational blocks, you're going to keep it off in a healthy way.
It's so true. And, you know, again, focusing on the, you know, the numbers on the scale, it can be very short-lived. You're going to achieve that goal. You're going to attain it. And then what? Okay. You know, but whenever you play the long game and you think about what are the things I want to do? What is truly important to me in life? What's my purpose? You know, I want to be able to get on the floor and play with my grandkids whenever I'm in my 70s.
Easy measurement of, you know, like, can you get up and down off of the floor with your grandkids?
Yes.
And so many people come in my office that are like, I can barely bend down and tie my shoe.
It's so true. And
really
you know,
sad.
and a lot of times, you know, we did this week, and sometimes they just kind of, they'll give me a frown. They're like, wait a minute, I thought I was here for Pilates. But I'll throw in so many elements of in our classes of balance, of mat work, because for that reason, it makes them get on and off the floor. And that is a skill that we lose as we age. I've even lost it. I'll get on the floor to play with my dog and I'm like, oh my gosh, God, this is kind of squeaky here, Those are all very functional habits. And if you follow, I don't know if you guys are y'all fans of Blue Zone? Dan Buhner, who is one of the scientists of Blue Zones, go and follow it, because I'm a big believer. I've followed Blue Zones for a long time, and then they just recently came out with a documentary, I think, How to Live to Be 100, right? And it's about all the centenarians. And so, in Blue Zones, they look at all of these different areas of the world who had some of the healthiest lives. I mean, these were people that lived to be, 100, but they weren't 100 in a nursing home somewhere, barely surviving.
Right.
They were still working. They were still, had healthy communities, social circles. They had a purpose. And, a lot of them, I think it was the Okinawa in Japan, I believe, or maybe it might have been Singapore. I can't remember. That was one of the key factors that they pointed out, is that these people still got on and off the floor very frequently, and they still gardened, and all of those things add up, all of those little things that we do every day add up. And with our longevity program, we broke it down into 6 pillars. So, number one, here we go. Here's the meat and potatoes,
we're trying
right?
to plan something for longevity. If it's something that we've never really thought about before, what are the things that we really need to focus on?
So whenever I compiled this list and the 6 pillars. Okay. So I'll give you the resources that I tapped into, that I used. Blue Zones is one of them. I've followed them for years. Dr. Peter Attia. Okay.
Love him.
He's fantastic. He's got a book. It's called Outlive. Okay. If you're interested and you want to dive into it. Now, I will tell you this, it's very scientific.
Yes.
I had to even break it down into bite-sized pieces and digestible pieces.
He gets pretty intense.
He has a good
podcast too, but it gets pretty, it's intense.
But, and it's so valuable. He also has a podcast. So if you're not into, going out and spending money to buy the book, look up his podcast and you can get some bite-sized pieces there. Huberman Labs is fantastic. And Dr. Mark Hyman is another one. Just recently started following, she's a female orthopedic surgeon, Vaughn, I believe is her name. And she is very much she's very much a proponent for weightlifting in women, especially postmenopausal women, and building that muscle to keep us strong as we go into aging. But anyway, circling back around, those are the resources that I really kind of compiled our 6 pillars and what our 6 pillars were going to be. So the first one is movement. First one is movement. And then we have nutrition, mental health and wellness, spirituality, community, and a sense of purpose. So those are
So can we dig into each one of those?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
When you say movement, it's interesting that you said the word movement and not exercise, because one of my best friends, who is also Jackie, not this Jackie, but another Jackie, whenever we would talk about exercise, this has been going back a decade probably, she's like, please stop telling me to exercise. It feels so overwhelming. It feels intimidating. Just say another word. And I was like, okay, movement, activity, just something, do something. You have to move.
Yes.
So movement, using that word, I think is a good word to use instead of exercise, which feels very overwhelming for some people.
Yes, it can. And to even kind of, if we wanted to take, do a drop down box on movement would look like, now here's again, some of the guidelines, right? So 150 minutes of cardiovascular exercise. That's, one of the foundations for movement.
Right, so that's in a 7-day, a week, a 7-day week, not a 5-day week.
Right, a 7-day week. Yeah. Another one is strength training. Okay, so 2 to 3 times per week of some type of resistance training. Okay, so that can be...
Yeah, break that down for us.
Okay, that can be, it can be weightlifting. It can be Pilates. Okay. Now I'm probably going to get some flack from that, because some people are going to say Pilates is not considered weightlifting. It depends. It depends. If
It
you
is a
come
resistance training.
It is resistance training. And so, if you come to one of our athletic reformer classes, which is what you guys did on Saturday, that's resistance training.
Yeah.
We're working it.
Oh, yeah, we were doing squats
We're
and
doing
all sorts of
squats.
stuff.
We're doing body weight. We're doing,
Well, and even on a reformer,
Yeah, you're still resisting.
yeah, there are springs in there,
It still
and so
counts
you
as
can
weight. I mean, you're still putting weight on your muscles.
So with the reformer, you have the ability to increase or decrease the amount of resistance that you're using depending on the person, using the springs and all of the different angles and that sort of thing.
Yes. Weightlifting it can go as far as CrossFit if that's appropriate for you, if that's
Right.
appropriate for that individual. It can be bar. I love bar classes, and I recommend bar classes for balance, stability, and weightlifting too. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go in there and max out,
Right.
your to lift, maxing it out.
Yeah.
That's not going to work for everybody. I mean, that might work for the 25-year-old, quarterback or whatever, but that's not going to work for, for the majority of our population. So
Resistance bands are another thing.
resistance
right? Yeah.
bands are great. All of those kind of things are great. And then what we also want to do is we want to make sure that we have something in our wellness program to be able to protect the integrity of our tendons and our ligaments. And Pilates answers that question as well. So Pilates really focuses on a lot of the elongation, spinal alignment, working on those local stabilizing muscles and working on the core strength as well. So depending on where you're going for Pilates, it can be athletic reformer, which is one of our higher end athletic formats, or it can be a restorative reformer, which is our other format that's a little bit more geared toward either people recovering with injuries, someone that really just wants flexibility, some stretching, and mind body. So I would put, kind of depending on where you are, Pilates is so versatile and it's so flexible. It can be a lot of different things depending on where you're taking classes.
Okay, so for movement, we need the cardiovascular and the strength. Then the next one is nutrition.
Yes, that's
And so-
your realm.
Yeah. So with nutrition, I would say, if we're talking foundational, making sure that you're getting enough hydration. So, making sure that we've talked about this before, how much people do not like to drink water. And it baffles me every time someone says that. But hydration and hydrating your body appropriately, making sure you're getting enough color diversity, plant color diversity in your diet. So the ultimate goal is 30 different plants in a week's time.
Ooh.
And so that can be different things. So if you have a salad that has lettuce, tomato, cucumber, carrot, just your basic salad, that would count as 4. So 30 is the ultimate goal, and that's based on the American Gut Project that was done 2010s-ish. I can't remember exactly when that was done. And then making sure you're getting enough protein. So those are kind of the just foundational pillars is color, plant diversity, hydration, and protein from a nutrition perspective.
And you have a new program that you're currently working on as well, right?
I do. it's called the Real Food Challenge.
Real
and
Food
it's just foundational to either establish for someone who's never really or hasn't in a long time done a lot of nutrition and thinking about food as nutrition and not thinking about food as weight loss. It's a 6-week program that does foundational information about, we build on it every week, every week over the 6-week program, we have a certain challenge and build on it. And it's just to either lay the foundation if it's never been done before, or just kind of get you back to foundational nutrition. And so that's a fun one. I've done it before. I've done it several times before. This one's all online. So it's a fun program.
It's so simple to just eat real clean food, but it's so easy to also just buy boxed food. And I think people...
It's all about perspective. Yeah, you have to kind of let go of some of the things that you have maybe been taught or told before and just get back to the basics. I think that's the most important thing. So what's the third pillar?
Third pillar is mental health and wellness.
And exercise and your diet both influence that so much. And I think that we're finally starting to realize that, like, as professionals, there's more emphasis on food and exercise than there has been before.
So we talked to Melissa Bowen about mental health. We had a great episode kind of early on with her, and then with the ladies from MoreCore about mental health.
And they're functional. It's a cool way to practice mental health.
Very interesting program that they have set up. But even just on a day-to-day basis, journaling. I read another article this morning, a study about journaling and the impact that journaling has on mental health. And journaling is something you can do free, at home. And, in your own mental space, it's a really great way to be able to just kind of give back to yourself, I think, in the way of mental health.
I've got stacks and stacks of old journals. And I started journaling during COVID, 2019. I started journaling, and I lost, I don't want to get emotional, but I lost my dog. And my little puppy was with me all through PT school, little Rocky. And whenever I had to put him down unexpectedly, it was traumatic. I mean, I brought him into the vet and thought, oh, he's just not feeling well. And he was, diagnosed. And so the vet said, well, you can either do this two ways. You can either schedule this or we can do it today. And I said, there's no way I can deal with the anxiety that's going to happen if I prolong this. So let's do it. And I was not ready. And it just ripped my heart out. Yeah. And from that point, I was looking for some way to heal from that. And I started journaling. And I actually found a prompted journal that helped you recover from death and from loss. And that's whenever I started. And it's helped me through the years. I mean, since 2019, I've been journaling, and sometimes I'll journal a couple times a day. Sometimes it's once a day, maybe, sometimes I'll forget, but it really has just become a key part of my overall health and wellness, journaling and meditation. Yeah. So I wake up every morning, take my dog for a walk. I have, Insight Timer is what I use for my meditation. It's an app. It's free. There's all kinds of different apps, but I'll use Insight Timer, or I'll go on Spotify and I'll just put on, a 10-minute gratitude meditation. I'll put that on while I walk my dog, and it's nice and quiet. And I think repeating that positive, planting those positive seeds in your brain for success is key.
It's so true. The stuff that you listen to has such an impact on the way you feel. And I think that, I don't know all the science behind it, but the frequency of our music even just irritates our brains. So for the last month, probably all I listened to is lo-fi music. And it's just sound.
I love lo-fi.
Oh my God. My brain, it just calms me down so much.
Good for your neurological system. Yeah. It's so good.
It's that or silence.
Yeah.
Because it's just our music is so loud, and it's so nice to just settle.
Well, and it's so much, and I don't remember who I was watching, where I got this from, but and the point is that our as human beings, we were not designed to have this much coming at us on a daily basis. Right. We were not. And it's going to be interesting to see, but they're already, a lot of the neurologists are finding links between, the younger generations and increased rates of ADHD and a lot of just, we know there's a mental health, and I'm not saying that social media is bad, and I'm not saying that technology is bad. It's not. There's a time and a place for it. It's a tool. I
think as adults, it's hard enough to manage, but our kids don't know any different.
No.
That's all they've ever known.
And it's so much faster now too.
It's so much faster, and we were in the generation where we can kind of see both sides, right? So we can see before we started kind of being bombarded with everything, and then we can see afterwards too. So we kind of know both sides of it, but as opposed to the younger generations, that's all they know. They have no concept of what life was like.
I remember
before.
when MySpace and Facebook came out, and it was just a platform. It wasn't constant videos and these 7-second reels that your brain, it's causing so much ADD reaction in our brain that we were not designed to absorb this much information. No. There's a book called The Anxious Generation. Have you read that?
No, I need to.
It's basically when the smartphones came out in the early 2000s, especially whenever the front screen, like the front camera selfies came out, mental health issues, especially with girls, plummeted. There's a whole movement behind this book. And my kids' school, we have a movement, like a grassroots movement in the school. We're all signing pledges that we're not going to give our kids smartphones or social media till these certain ages, and kind of trying to limit the damage because it's really hard to take away, but it's easier to prevent giving it. So it's really interesting. I actually just ordered the brick where you like brick your phone and it shuts off.
Oh, wow.
It's an app, right?
It is an app, but there's a physical brick. It's a magnet on my refrigerator. So I brick my phone and it turns off all my social media until I unbrick the phone. And I actually have it on a timer. So my social media shuts off automatically at 3:10 when I'm in the car line to pick up my kids, and doesn't turn back on until 7:30 when they're out the door. So I have from 7:30 until 3:10 every day, my working hours to like get my social media stuff done. And oh my God.
Is it?
Yeah, I'm a different person just from like 2 weeks of doing that. I'm more present. I'm less irritable. It's been amazing. That first day was kind of weird because I kept like grabbing my phone to look at it. Yeah. And oh my God, it's the best thing I've ever done.
It's fantastic. Cool. That's so good. That's so good. I've really tried, 2025 was a pivotal year for me and personally. And I'll tell you why is because I turned 49 this year. So August, I turned 49, which I'm very proud of. And so whenever 2025 came around, I thought, you know what, this is kind of the last year of my 40s, and next year will be a brand new chapter. So I wanted to really set myself up for success and say, okay, whenever I do move into my 50s, I want to be the best version of me that I can for the next, hopefully I'm going to live to be 100, but for the next 50 years. And what are some of the changes, that I can make in being able to set myself up, for that. And limiting and taking a step back from some of the social media, I started doing that, and that has been a game changer too. And so I've started trying to replace scrolling with like actually reading, getting a book and actually reading. And you would underestimate how difficult that is. Yeah. Because I started reading and I was like, I'm not interested. Skip. Yeah. But it has nothing to do with the book. It tells me, the feedback tells me that my attention span has decreased so much because, I started thinking, Brandie, you used to spend 15 hours in the library studying with nothing but, notes and books. And now you can't even read a chapter without picking up your phone. Yeah. That's
on top of that, trying to read really on a Kindle or something, or like the iPad, because then you just easily have access to it.
And that's one of the reasons why I started going back to a good old paper, good old fashioned paper book. And then this way I can put my phone away, put it in a completely different room. And if the weather's nice, I'll take the book and I'll go sit outside and read.
That's what I did last night. Yeah, I'm reading a book. I'm actually reading it on a Kindle, which is a friend's that I borrowed. So I don't really know how to work it. I just know how to social media.
That's all you need. You don't have Facebook or whatever on a Kindle either. So that's a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you need, And so I've started trying to take up some of those. I was laughing with my friend, but we call them like grandma hobbies, but those grandma hobbies.
I'm in a book club.
I love book clubs. We were in a book club too. Those are so healthy for you. They really are. They are so healthy for your brain. You're building new neurological patterns in your brain that actually have benefits to it.
Yeah. I love puzzles.
I do too.
My daughter and I, my little bag's up there, the pink bag, it's Woobles. Have you seen that it's the social media? They're little knit stuffies, and you just learn how to crochet. It's not crochet. I don't know, either crochet or knit. I don't know the difference, but it's the one with the hook. Yeah. And we would spend hours just trying to crochet / knit.
And it's so good for you. It's so good for your brain. It's so good for your hand-eye coordination. I mean, I started playing Mahjong. Me too. Okay. Yeah, I know, right? I started playing Mahjong and I'm so excited about it. But it completely removes, it's almost like you get into what they call like the flow state, right? Where whenever you're doing something and you forget about everything else. Right. And that is so healthy for us as individuals, as human beings. It's so healthy for us.
Amazing.
So what's the next pillar?
Okay, next pillar. All right.
We can talk about that one forever.
Mental health and wellness, spirituality, and that's going to mean something different for everybody, but based on blue zones and a lot of the, the other science and evidence, having some type of spirituality,
something outside of yourself,
something that is bigger than you as an individual has been shown to be very, very healthy. So, and that's very much an individual, choice there. Community and purpose. So number 5 is community and number 6 is purpose.
Yeah.
Community, and I've seen it in our studio, Belle Physical Therapy and Pilates. And what we're doing is giving people hope and a chance to move their bodies in ways that maybe they never thought that they could because, they've been injured or recovering from a surgery. So it gives them the hope and the movement to be able to physically move their bodies. But we are also growing and cultivating a wonderful, beautiful community. And you guys saw that on Saturday. I mean, a lot of people.
It's a sense of belonging.
Yes.
To feel like you belong. Yes. There's a place that you can go and you belong and you're not going to be outed for whatever reason you may feel like, it's just a sense of belonging.
Yeah. The origin, and a lot of people don't know this, but because Pilates has kind of been the latest fad right now and it's really booming and it's everywhere, which is wonderful. We love that. But a lot of people don't recognize the fact that Pilates was originally developed as a therapeutic exercise modality. Okay. So the man that developed it, his name was Joseph Pilates. He was actually in fitness. He was a boxer. Well, he was interned in a concentration camp, and I think it was during World War II. So he started working with injured veterans at the time. There was not a field really of physical therapy at this point in time. And the two fields, Pilates and physical therapy, really parallel each other if you look in the history. And both of them originated from the need to have a method to be able to rehabilitate these injured war veterans. They had amputees, they had legs that were blown off, arms that were blown off. And so he utilized what he had available, and that was an old bed frame. And so you can look at the Pilates. It's a fascinating history. I love the history. You can look at the Pilates reformer, and that's why it's controlled by springs. So those were old bed springs, and you can go and look up some of the old pictures of Joseph Pilates, working with some of these, veterans. So that's how it started. And then there was the mother of physical therapy. Her name was Mary Macmillan. At the same time, about the same time in history, these two started both working with injured veterans. Now, the pathways went a little bit different. Joseph Pilates then moved. He got married to a nurse. Her name was Clara. And they moved to New York City and they started rehabbing New York City ballet dancers. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see Pilates utilized a lot in dance. So because, dance is such a repetitive, it lends itself to having a lot of injuries. Right. Well, Pilates, again, addresses that. But that's how Pilates started. And then you continue down the sort of the branch of history. And there was a lot of different sort of cousins that came from the original Pilates, but that's how Pilates started. Now, Legree which I'm a fan of Legree also, but Legree was developed by a bodybuilder, if I'm not mistaken. So his intention and the use on Legree was a little bit different than Pilates. It was more of an exercise. Hey, let's just get out here and and let's do some, kind of
Yeah.
put bodybuilding on a machine and let's call it Legree. And by no means, I don't mean to discount it, but it's different. It's a different thought process than Pilates, but they all have value. I mean, and again, it kind of all comes down to what's appropriate for that individual. What's appropriate, where you are in life, where you are in your fitness goals, your recovery goals. There is something that will work for everybody. And that kind of just brings us back to the whole movement thing. You have to find what's going to work well for you and your body. And once you find it, just stick with it, and try not to really worry about the numbers on the scale. Put all those pieces together, and I can almost promise you the physical part will follow through with what you're doing on the inside.
Yeah.
It's going to show. It's going to show, and you're going to see the results from it. So
many days, like depending on where I am in my cycle or how I'm feeling emotionally, that will really determine like what exercise I want to do that day or
absolutely.
what my body needs. Like sometimes it's Pilates, sometimes it's just rucking.
Yeah. And how well you've rested, what the rest of your week looks like, the amount of stress that you had that week. I mean, all those things will take into account.
To circle back what you talked about earlier, like we're spending so much money per person on our healthcare costs in the United States, and we are the sickest of any nation. And there are so many problems with the healthcare industry, and that's like the top-down approach. But this bottom-up approach, where we can take responsibility and what can we do to reverse these things. We are in so much more control of our health than we are taught. And all of the things that we've talked about today, these are things that will reverse that.
It's so true.
We don't have to wait for the system to change. We can change the system.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things I'm so proud of, like, this younger generation, is that they really take agency over their health. They take agency over their mental health, their wellness, their exercise, and even most recently, like we were talking about, alcohol.
Yeah.
So the rates of alcohol consumption have dropped by like 50%.
Significant.
Yeah. And, and Dr. Mark Hyman brought that to the, to the table too. And he really kind of debunked the theory that we used to think, those 2 to 3 glasses of wine or healthy.
Right.
Now they're starting to learn no amount of alcohol is healthy.
Right.
It really is a toxin. And listen, look, I'm not saying, you're doing something terrible. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to judge at all. It's just the science that comes out. It's just the data.
Informed consent.
Consent, right? But I'm so proud of that generation too, because fewer and fewer of them think it's cool to go out and get, and get drunk on the weekends, or so many of them. And now you're seeing a lot of these kind of like coffee DJ parties, like that are early in the morning, where they're doing like iced
like
coffee and me too. So I'm going to Austin. I know, and I'm going to Austin this weekend, and I'm so excited because don't think I'm not going to be trying to find one of those. I mean,
Austin would definitely have it.
I'm like, a party at 8 a.m. Heck yeah, sign me up. If there's juice and music and exercise, like that's the party I want to do these days.
That's amazing. I know, it's so cool to see the shift. Of people really. I say like the new top 1% is the people that take their health seriously.
Yes.
And it's so true.
Yeah.
The people that are the most successful are really prioritizing their health, physical, mental, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I just love being a part of this.
I do too.
Movement. It's so much fun.
I do too.
It's a lot of work, though. I mean, not to discount it and say that it's easy. It's a lot of work, but this is work I'm willing to put into.
Yeah. And it's work that is so worth the reward.
Right.
Feeling great, having sustainable energy, knowing that you could take a trip. If your friend called and said, hey, let's go here, let's go hike up, whatever, let's go hiking in Colorado. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, I'm in physical shape. I can do that. Yeah. Let's go. At the drop of a hat, or, hey, can you, do this with the kids, or, yeah, absolutely. I'm good. Let's go. Just being ready for life.
Right.
Yeah. And just the possibilities open up whenever you're clear-minded and you're healthy, and it's
Feel
really
good.
cool. Yeah, it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
So before we let you go, we ask all of our guests
one very important question is what does living vividly mean to you?
Ooh, what does living vividly mean to you? I think it means, honestly, living by the 6 pillars of longevity. That's what it means to me is movement, nutrition, mental health and wellness, spirituality, community, and having a purpose. That's what it means to me. And I think that, if you start by, even if it's one category, once a week, and then you add to it and you add to it, habit stacking, right? Mm-hmm. And so you add to it, add to it, add to it. That's going to be a wonderful plan for longevity and, living a healthy life until 100. That's my goal, because I have a lot of places I want to see. A lot of things I want to do.
Thanks for listening to Living Vividly. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and subscribe. We'd love to hear from you. For more resources and details from today's discussion, check out the show notes. Until next time, keep living vividly.